Hey guys, Pedro here to tell you about the latest from Sonata Arctica, Clear Cold Beyond, out March 8th on Atomic Fire Records. The album has 10 tracks, 51 minutes in length, and this is the band's 11th full-length studio album. They are a Finnish power metal band, and for this record they went with a prototypical power metal design, which is stacking up fast-driven, impactful songs right from the get-go. Then you start to merge in some more ballad-style songs that give you a little bit of a sense of a pause, a sense of a reprieve, and then you mix in again songs that are very fast, that are very driven, very impactful, and then you close off the experience with a few more ballads or softer tracks. This makes the overall record a lot more interesting, a lot more dynamic, a lot more impactful, and a lot less linear, and it doesn't feel as repetitive. So a nice design, a prototypical design, but one that enhances the quality of the individual songs and obviously gives quality to the overall collective as well. As far as the sound is concerned, I thought this was a very interesting record because it has that more modern touch power metal sound that's very driven by the keys and the synthesizers. And this record definitely lives off of that element a lot. It's one of the cornerstones of the sound of this album. The interesting aspect of it is that you feel it a lot more in certain portions of the songs when the songs are driven by the melody, when the songs really call for a more brighter experience, a more lighter experience. Those keys come in and they jump into the forefront and they take control. They're definitely driving some of these tracks and they feel like they're the ones dictating the direction in which the songs are going. When those keyboards and those melodies subside or they intertwine a little bit more with the heavier sound of the guitars or even a little bit more with the umph of the drums, then the tracks change their shape, they change their texture, and they become a little bit more substantial. They feel a little bit bigger, they feel a little bit heavier, and they still have that driving force, but now the driving force has a little bit more meat behind it. This is an interesting dynamic because at times the light-hearted side of the sound really feels thin. It feels super thin because the melody of the keys and the synthesizers overshadows the guitars and overtakes the drums, and it almost feels like it's the only element on the tracks themselves, which has that nature of making everything feel like it's almost not even there. And while that works really well in order to emphasize the more melodic feel of the sound of the songs and of the band, it does take away from some of the more power into the power metal. It still has that fast moving experience, and that's perhaps where the power metal comes in, but it doesn't have that umph behind it consistently. And I think this album could have still had those great keys, those great synthesizer sounds, but still keep the drums and the guitars present a little bit more consistently so that the album doesn't feel like it's lifting up as much as it is. It would be a more balanced record, but I think it would have been a stronger album as far as the heavier side of the power metal sound in the power metal genre is concerned. The way it comes across, it has more of a modern touch to it. It's more driven by melodies and is more driven by that lighter experience, and that really takes control and becomes almost a common denominator throughout the entire record, regardless of the tempos of the songs. Now, this is not to say that the drums and guitars don't play a role, because they do. I feel like the guitars are also one of the cornerstones, one of the pillars of the soundscape of this record, and I enjoy their sound tremendously. It's a sound that has also a lot of melody in it. It's super melodic. The guitars on this record are super melodic. There are a few times where you feel a little bit more weight and you feel a little bit more heaviness, especially when they pair up really well with the drums. But overall, you have two elements of melody on this record and two elements of melody that push the songs forward: the synthesizers, the keys, and the guitars. When they work together and they have the same sort of idea and they have the same sort of experience, that's when the songs really lift up. That's when the songs become super light. Outside of that, the guitars still have impact in terms of the experience with the solos. Great solos on this record. Great solos from both the keys and the guitars, because I feel like there are two elements that, while different, they have a very similar role throughout the entire album. So it's nice to see the guitars still finding room within these songs to be noticed, to be impactful, and to be driven. The drums have, most often than not, a very robust sound. Not loud, not overpowering, but when you feel them, they always have a sense of a robust nature to it. I just wanted them to have a little bit more of a consistent oomph. They can be robust, but they lacked a little bit of substance within that experience. And if they had a little bit more substance, once again, the album consistently would have a lot more power within its power metal. Still a great sounding album because the production is really good and allows you to see the lighter side of the band coming through in these very super fun, jovial songs. I mean, this is really traditional power metal in terms of how it makes you feel. It makes you feel good. It's energetic. So these songs have a lot of that experience, have a lot of that modern power metal experience into them, but you see it a little bit better because the production really allows you to do so. Without that production, I feel like the guitars and keyboards would have kind of blended all as one and would have been a lot harder for you to see the experience, the dynamic experience that both are offering, sometimes simultaneously, sometimes apart from one another. Vocally, this is a very strong album. Tony is phenomenal on this record. I honestly thought that he felt very free, he felt very loose. He feels also very controlled in terms of his range. Is not an album that demands a lot from him, or you're not going to see him going from coast to coast in terms of his vocal range. It's an album where it's more about the warmth of the delivery. It's more about the hopeless delivery that he has, because he makes the lyrics and he makes the songs feel like there's a sense of a light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's an important aspect of a record that sound-wise is very bright and very light. You want to come across vocally in the same manner, and I felt like he did that consistently from beginning to end. Even with certain songs that are not perhaps as hopeful, even certain songs that have a little bit more of a darkness to them, he still found a way with his vocal delivery to give glimpses of hope within those songs, and that allows for the overall vocal experience to be very balanced throughout the entire record and very consistent, which is a nice aspect, because regardless of where the songs are going musically, vocally, you always know exactly what you're going to get sung in and sung out. So all around, this is a safe record. I honestly feel like they went back to a formula that they know it works, that fans were hoping to hear. It's been a while since we've had an album that is this consistently done as far as the genre of power metal is concerned by this band. So this is a record that I think is going to hit home with a lot of their fans. It's not going to be, it's not going to be, and it definitely is not their greatest record ever, but it's also not their worst. This is a very solid power metal record, one that I think there's a lot of great songs, and there's a lot of great songs that are going to have a lot of great moments when it comes to a live set, when it comes to performing them live, because they have energy. They feel good. When you listen to this album, it's very different. It's very difficult, I should say, to have a frown. You're gonna smile. It's gonna put you in a good mood. It's a make you feel good style record. Even like I said, even with songs that are not that bright or not that hopeful, even those songs, you still are able to see something positive in them, and that smile continues from the first all the way to the last track. I love the energy of the album, and it's an album that you sit back, you enjoy, you digest, super easy to digest, and it's not one of those records that really demands a lot from the listener. It's just really pressing play and going where the record is taking you. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to go and start off with California. I talk about a sunny song. Talk about a song that has so much hope in it. This track definitely represents sunny California extremely well, in the sound, in the vocal performance, in the overall execution. It's a track that has powerful drums behind it, and then the keys, the synthesizers, really enrich the overall sound with the melody that they infuse. It's a track that has a lot of life. It's a track that has a lot of texture. The guitars and drums work really well with one another, and the vocals are super melodic. The vocals really carry this track through and really help paint a vivid picture of the lyrics and of the overall emotion that you get out of this song. The guitar sound is excellent. I really enjoy the guitar sound on this track, and the track has this great harmony between the keys and the guitars, which is something that you're going to find throughout the entire record. They really have a lot of harmony between guitars and keys, and this song really represents that aspect extremely well. Like I said, a very melodic track with a very melodic glue performance style from the vocals. The vocals are really the glue that holds it all together, and it's a sunny track just like sunny California. Next you have Cure for Everything. This track, at least as it started, it gave me this 80s style vibe with the synths coming through. Then you start to see the track evolve a little bit more, become slightly more robust. The drums and guitars add more volume to the overall song, and then it's a track that really culminates in a very catchy and hooky chorus, both musically and vocally. And you see that chorus really jump out, still connected with the verses, but really jump out and become the focal point of the track. The song really thins out when the synths are more predominant. It's almost like there's nothing underneath it. The song completely levitates, and then you see that specifically in the chorus, because the chorus, like I said, is very hooky, very catchy, and when you have the synths really pushing it upwards and removing everything from underneath, it jumps out. It separates itself from the rest of the track a little bit better and a little bit more. The verses have a little bit more of a heavier bite to it, or at least have a little bit of a thicker bite to it, if I should say. It's a song that allows the vocals to really carry the listeners through, guide you through, hold your hand all the way through with a great delivery, and a song that has great guitar solos, great keyboard solos. Last but definitely not least, Teardrops. Definitely one of those more somber. It's not a ballad, but it's a song that has a dark twang to it. Definitely has a dark vibe, and that dark vibe really comes from the melody that the song has, but also from the lack of hope at times in the vocal delivery. So it's a dark song that represents that darkness with two different elements, with the melody that's coming from the keys and the guitars, specifically from the keys, and then the vocal delivery itself. It's an interesting song because the keys come across almost in a Victorian style. It has this old aroma to it, a Victorian aroma to it. And maybe from that Victorian aroma comes some of that darkness that is very subtle, but it's easy to understand and easy to really grasp and digest. Mixing powerful elements together allow the song to still feel like it has forward movement. It allows the song to not be a fast tempo song, but it allows the song to have a little bit more life in it and not be necessarily a track that really slows things down. I think the nature of this song, if the song really slowed things down, it would become super depressive, and a song like that on a record that's so very brightful and hopeful would completely stand out and stick out like a sore thumb. So creating the right elements to allow the song to merge better with the tracks that came before and with the tracks that come after, while perhaps providing a little bit more of a darker atmosphere and a darker mood, allows for this song to help create ebbs and flows within the record, and allows the listener to feel something different or get something different out of the song while still feel like the song kind of belongs in the environment that it's in. Great track, Teardrops. This is it. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Hit me up in the comment section. This is Sonata Arctica, Clear, Cold, Beyond, out March 8th on Atomic Fire Records. Thank to hear what you guys have to say, and I'll see you all at the next video. Take care, guys.